Welcome to the WrestleTalk News. I'm Quinnell. Since early this year, Bray Wyatt has been out of action in WWE with an undisclosed illness, and I sincerely hope he gets better soon. What's quite interesting though is what has now been reported to have been lined up if that illness didn't happen. When Wyatt initially came back to WWE, there were rumors circling about a potential Wyatt 6 faction, and while Wyatt 6 may not have been the actual plan, there reportedly were plans for another Wyatt faction, a potential new working of a new Wyatt family. This comes from Fightful Select, who learned that this new Wyatt family was originally set to debut after WrestleMania 39, and would feature Bray, obviously, Bo Dallas, who'd been portraying Uncle Howdy, Eric Young, who's now left the company, and Alexa Bliss, who is now pregnant. Though it had only been uncovered recently, with Young's return to Impact Wrestling at Slammiversary, Select reports that Young requested and was granted his release earlier this year in spring, and waited out his 90-day non-compete. Interestingly though, the plans for this new Wyatt family were reportedly locked in from about January, before Wyatt's illness and before Young requested his release. This also wasn't the first time Young was linked with plans to Wyatt, as back in 2020 there were reportedly plans for both Eric Young and Mike Bennett to work alongside The Fiend, specifically with Bennett playing Sister Abigail. But whether it was the 2020 plans or the 2023 plans, seemingly none of them have come to fruition, and because of Wyatt's illness, Young's release, and Bliss's pregnancy, it seems now that we'll never get this iteration of the Wyatt family on our screens. But don't worry, there's always a chance they could replace Alexa Bliss in the Wyatt family with someone else who's been off our screens for like 10 months at this point. Aaliyah. After winning the women's tag titles with Raquel Rodriguez, because who hasn't won those belts with Raquel at this point, Aaliyah went off our screens and hasn't been seen since. And it seems that she might be getting a little frustrated sitting around not doing anything, because she recently tweeted saying, question for the studio audience, when do y'all think I'll be back on SmackDown? Hashtag Ask the Aaliyah Show. The Aaliyah Show, I assume, is WWE's next talk show. With an attached poll on the tweet, the two options being before September 12, 2023 and after September 12, 2023. That date is significant as it was September 12, 2022 when Aaliyah was last on SmackDown, meaning if it goes past September 12th this year, it will be a full year of absence. Do you want to see Aaliyah back in WWE? Let us know in the comments. And of course, it looks like there's some heat here between Aaliyah and WWE, but I can't tell just how much heat there is. So I'm going to hand it over to WrestleTalk's own weather reporter, Helen Temperature, to tell us exactly how much heat there is. How's it looking out there, Helen?
As the great Bob Dylan once sang, 1 is the loneliest number.
Don't you mean Harry Nilsson?
I must have meant another 1 bites the dust.
That's also not Bob Dylan.
Oh.
Thank you, Helen. Not much heat there, only a 1. And now, here's Luke with the Raw review.
And now it's time for my review of Monday Night Raw, aka blimey, that was a bloomin' fun episode of Monday Night Raw edition of Monday Night Raw in about 5 minutes. The show opened with Cody Rhodes coming out for a wonderful hometown pop, but he wasn't here to talk about stuff and or things, as he wanted to call out Brock Lesnar. Now, I know what you're thinking. Haven't we been down this road before? Haven't we seen this segment before? And well, you're right, and this basically followed the same formula, only there was less security for a brawl, and because there was no P.T. Williams, this was -5 stars. Lesnar's music played a couple of times, but there was no Brock, who then attacked Cody as he toddler stormed to the back to find him. He beat him down the ramp and gave him an F5 in front of his mum, which gives us your new facepalm meme. Brock locked in the Kimura a couple of times and accepted Cody's challenge for SummerSlam. Look, we still have not been given a reason as to why Brock is attacking Cody, which, if I recall correctly, was part of the storyline way back when, and Brock locking in Kimuras over and over again doesn't quite hit the same as they literally just did the arm break storyline in the last part of this feud, so yeah, this did feel a bit stale. They also replayed it a half dozen times in the show, which lessened the effect of it for those who are watching the whole show rather than just flicking through the channels. Thankfully, Raw picked up from there as Matt Riddle and Gunther had the match I thought they were going to have at Money in the Bank. It might have only gone 8 minutes, but they knocked 7 shades of sushi out of each other, and Gunther picked up the win with a powerbomb. He called out Drew McIntyre after the match. Drew wasn't there because he's filming a movie with Dave Bautista about a contract killer putting a hit out on himself because he's told by a doctor that he's going to die soon, only to find out that the doctor was wrong, and now he's got to fend off several highly skilled contract killers who are looking to pick up his bounty. That sounds great, right? Well, here is the one review of the audible version of the book that it's based on. If you believe pro wrestling is real or are in the 3rd grade, you will love the plot. So, well, make of that what you will. Anywho, not Kathy Kelly interviewed Liv Morgan and Baquel Rodriguez backstage, but Mammy Ripley walked in and beat them both up, hurting Rodriguez ahead of her title match. She later said that she will still compete, but she'll just need to be a little bit careful. The Judgment Day came out for a promo to say more or less what they usually say. Well, they're on the same page and they're all going to win titles, even though Finn and Priest are going for the same one. Orcs. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens came out to face them, which gives us another new facepalm meme. And a tag title match was made for the main event tonight. But we've got tag team action right now as Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville took on Liv Morgan and ouchie leg Rodriguez, who only won these things a few weeks ago. And then they lost them, lol. But more on that in a little bit, because first, we've got to head on over to Turbo Jack to talk about some very special people.
Huh! I'm Haters Wrestling Turbo Jack, and what I like most is building muscles. When I'm not building muscles, I like to say a big thank you to WrestleTalk's pledge Amazon Patreon. So this pose is for you, $100 man CD Horver, the Castle Run, the Egg Solo, Double L, Liam Leonard, Mad Mac the Meat Father, have an Archie Pargy, the Map Man, Matthew Allen, Super Kick. Super Kick name was Esco, Ryan, Visco, Stewart, the Final Judgment, thanks to Snowbody, and Thomas, the prize hooker, Solazano. You too can get your own Patreon shout out by going to patreon.com/WrestleTalk. That's patreon.com/WrestleTalk.
Thank you for that, Turbo Jack. That sure was sexy. That sure was something. It sure was something. The women's tag match only went 5 minutes, so the four of them just did the final third of a much longer match. They essentially just went into the near fall section, but to be honest, it popped the crowd. The Oblivion was broken up, Morgan kicked out of the Unprettier, but the good guys could not overcome Raquel's sore leg, and the Karens picked up the win and the titles with another Unprettier and running knee. This division, which, let's not forget, was supposed to be reset after Ronda and Shayna won the belts 7 weeks ago, has been a mess for the last few weeks. Maybe they were right all along, but I enjoyed this sprint. And though I enjoyed this sprint, these women deserve something better. And I'm also slightly concerned that they teased dissension between Green and Deville when Chelsea spoke over Sonya and she looked annoyed about it. But maybe I'm just being paranoid. Byron Saxton had a sit-down interview with Seth Rollins to talk about Balor's challenge for the title, which brought Finn in to have a chat, and like a cool supply teacher looking to get on the same level as his temporary students, he sat on his chair backwards to speak with Seth. The pair cut great whispering promos to set up their match for SummerSlam, a match that was made official for later in the show. This was an awesome segment, and Balor attacked Rollins at the end of it. And while that was awesome, it couldn't hold a candle to the best thing in WWE right now, Alpha Academy versus the Viking Raiders. I said what I said. This is better than the Bloodline. For some reason, Titus O'Neil was out on commentary and he added nothing. But nothing can't hurt this match. They had a fantastically fun Viking rules match and the crowd went nuts for all of the action, like Ivar hitting a moonsault, then Gable breaking up that with a moonsault of his own and then hitting him with a delayed German suplex. They went nuts for Maxine putting on the Letterman jacket and Valhalla putting her through a table. They went even more nuts for Otis becoming a one-man wrecking crew, taking out both guys, but a double axe from Valhalla and a double powerbomb meant that the nasty Vikings won this round. Give me more of this, please, and thank you. Shayna Baszler tapped out Nikki Cross in under 20 seconds. Congrats on that degree, Nikki. And then Ronda Rousey cut a promo on Baszler to set up their SummerSlam match. Look, this wasn't good. And I think the problem is that Ronda doesn't put any inflection or emotion into her delivery. And the reason that she doesn't do that is because she's too busy trying to remember all of the words that they have written down for her that she has to remember. Look, I'm not saying she'll do better with an unscripted promo, but giving her word salad is not doing her any favors. Becky Lynch was a guest on Miz TV, which brought out Trish Stratus and Zoe Snug, with Trish finally accepting Becky's SummerSlam rematch challenge, but she has to beat Zoe first, and if she loses, she has to get a tattoo on her chest saying thank you, Trish. This was a good segment, made great by the performances. Bronson Reed beat Shinsuke Nakamura via DQ when Tommaso Ciampa ran in to attack Reed. Nakamura then attacked Ciampa after the match in frustration. And the main event saw Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn do what they do best, put on a fun tag main event and get the crowd to lose their gosh darn minds. They beat the Judgment Day in a tremendously fun match to close out the show. I had a blast with this episode of Raw. There wasn't a lot of Actual in-ring wrestling time-wise, Gunther and Riddle only went 8 minutes. The women's tag went 5. Reed and Nakamura went 7. Baszler went less than 20 seconds. Most of the wrestling on this 3-hour show was under 10 minutes, but it was fun, and I'm going to give this episode a big old 4 out of 5. So why not go ahead and watch the finale of this season of the Monday Night War over on Parts Fun Known, where Pete and I played through the final 5 weeks of our season on WWE 2K23's My GM mode. Here's a clip.
Nice. 24 hours for John the Fisherman. Incredible. And really, that's who we all want Jey Uso to beat for the title. It's not Roman Reigns, it's John the Fisherman.